Oh my.
Make him sit through it.
That's what I do.
Oh, when the hour passes, they're gonna be gone.
Oh, yeah.
They're supposed to be taking notes, but
Yeah, that'd be great.
Do you have something for me to say?
They should really let me know when they're all gonna come to one meeting so I can print extra agendas. I don't care who signs them.
Yep.
all right.
Time is now 7 p.m. and I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Beloit City Council. We're here at 100 State Street, Beloit, Wisconsin in the City Hall Forum, and today is Monday, October 20th, 2014. Can I have a roll call?
Roll call shows all counselors present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 is special orders of the day and announcements. The first announcement I'd like to make is that the City of Beloit trick-or-treating hours for this year will be Friday, October 31st, 2014, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and we wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween and encourage everyone to get out and trick-or-treat and meet your neighbors. Item 3B.
The Water Resources Division Winter Weather Operation Announcement, Wisconsin Rural Water Association Award, and staff recognition related to past winter activities.
Hi, good
Hey,
evening.
this-
Good evening, thank you. To recognize that effort, the State Wisconsin Rural Water Association recognized the City of Beloit for their efforts. So what I'd like to do tonight is ask staff to stand while I read the recognition. So we have several staff members right behind me. If they'd stand, please. I know. So while they're standing, I'd like to read the award and then give them their due applause. So, as with many communities throughout Wisconsin and the upper Midwest, the City of Beloit experienced frozen water mains and sewer laterals. Staff worked nonstop from early February until the end of March to assure that every lateral main was thawed. Staff efforts were nothing short of Herculean and deserve this recognition, as do all affected staff members throughout our entire organization. It started with us and it spread throughout the rest. So I just want to turn around and applaud the staff. Thank you very much. Thank you. And again, it started with us and it spread throughout. So there's a lot of people that I could stand up here like an Academy Awards presentation and name names. I won't do it obviously, but it went all the way through our organization. It was quite the effort. So I'm extremely proud of everybody. They did an amazing job. And I'd also like to read a personal letter from one of our customers. This came from the first person who experienced a frozen lateral. If there is anything to be learned from this experience, it is that the people working for the water utility in Beloit are compassionate, thoughtful people. This is a little thank you to you, Mike Fallon, for fixing the pipe. You truly are someone special for doing that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I think that goes to everybody. But Mike worked very diligently on her pipes, so as they all did. But it's nice to get that recognition, that feeling back. So again, that was given to Mike, but I think it's shared throughout the organization too, that everybody worked extremely hard and deserved the kudos that they got. The last thing I have is we are going to be inserting in the December utility bills sort of a 5-step reminder for our customers. Winter is coming up. I do take the National Weather Service most recent forecast, 90-day forecast. It is not going to be doom and gloom. We're going to have near normal temperatures and below average precipitation. So I'm going to take the positive approach. Some people are saying it's going to be the worst winter ever, and I don't buy it. I'm taking the positive approach, and it's going to be a normal winter. What we're going to do, though, is remind the customers what to look for. This is not going to be obviously a run water mandate. If we have to have a run water mandate, we'll notify customers by direct method, either a door hanger or phone calls. But we want to do just remind them winter's coming, be alert, be aware, pay attention, and we just don't want to experience, even though I know we won't, because staff, we've also taken measures to stay ahead of the game. So there are no guarantees in this world, but we're going to do everything we possibly can, never have a reoccurrence here in the city of Beloit. So with that, I'm finished. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. All right, thank you very much, and thank you, staff.
Thank you. Item 4 is public hearings, 4A.
The 2015 Community Development Block Grant Proposed Budget, 2015 to 2019 Consolidated Plan, and the 2015 Annual Action Plan.
Ms. Christensen.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development requires each CDBG formula grantee to submit a consolidated plan every 5 years and annual action plan each year. Both plans include specific objectives for housing, homelessness, public housing, and community development, and include information on the process, affordable housing, and special needs population. Our current plan expires at the end of 2014. This is the plan document. Included within the plan document will be the annual budget, which we'll be going through tonight. But this is the 5-year plan. Also included within here is the 1-year plan. It's a template created by HUD that we really kind of fill in the blanks. The next 5 years, we're proposing similar strategies to what happened in the last 5 years. And we did have a number of committee members with the providers to get their input during this process. Do you have the... Before I get into the budget, I do want to explain that we did send applications out to this, just generally, we did notify the public, but we also emailed directly all those who have received funds in the past and have requested to be invited. Then the CDA, which includes Anna Kelly and Chuck Kincaid, interviewed all of the applicants, and then they met in September and did recommend this budget, and they put a lot of time and effort into this process, so I want to at least acknowledge the CDA. The public service cap is set at 15% and is set at $113,445 this year. That's based on what you were expecting to receive in grant dollars plus program income from this year. The cap is down slightly from last year, which is due to program income declining, which is partially due to the fact that we had a big loan repayment last year. So this is the first half of the public service, which includes awarding Community Action $16,000, Family Services Domestic Violence Center $8,000, Family Services Home Companion Registry $8,445, Hands of Faith $7,000, HealthNet $8,000, and Merrill Community Center $16,000. HealthNet was a new program this year. They did come before you during your public hearing and did emphasize that they already have Beloit clients that they are serving. And then NHS's home ownership. This is their home ownership education and foreclosure prevention at $16,000. Salvation Army Supportive Services at $5,000. Salvation Army Systems Navigator at $8,000. State Line Literacy at $16,000, and Voluntary Action Senior Chore Service at $5,000. Both Salvation Army programs were new programs this year, but the board felt that they were important programs that needed to be provided through the block grant program. And then this is the rest of the programs we say below the line. So they did recommend $10,000 for fair housing activities, $135,000 for program administration. This pays for staff salaries that administer the program, which does include some accounting staff as well as staff for the Economic Development Loan Program. $50,000 for the code enforcement program, and this is due to the fact that we do have some carryover from prior year funds that will allow us to fund that at a lower level just this year. The housing rehabilitation revolving loan fund at $171,555. And then 2 new programs. The Downtown Beloit Association has applied for funds to do storefront improvements as well as upper story development. The board did recommend approving $30,000 for storefront improvements and $50,000 for upper story development, for a total grant funds of $560,000. And then in terms of the program income, this is program income that is generated by existing programs funded by Community Development Block Grant. We're anticipating receiving bringing in $31,800 in the Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund, $75,000 in the code enforcement program, which is the rental permits, $85,000 in repayments for the housing rehab revolving loan fund, and then $4,500 from neighborhood housing services. And the board did recommend allowing those programs to retain the income that they are earning to continue their programs. So if you look at the code enforcement and housing rehab revolving loan fund, there's 2 pieces to it. The last slide and this slide for the total amount of their budget, which is a total CDBG budget of $756,300.
Thank you.
And this is the night for your public hearing. It's been noticed as a public hearing. You will not take action tonight. You will just hear from the public, and it will be on your agenda for at the next meeting on November 3rd for action.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing on item 4A. If anyone wishes to speak on this item, please come to the podium at this time. Second call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4A. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4A. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on item 4A, and this will be voted on in 2 weeks. Item 4B.
The 2015 Home Investment Partnerships proposed budget.
Ms. Christensen.
In July 2001, the City of Beloit and Janesville and Rock County formed a home consortium, which allows us to receive money directly from HUD every year. 19% of that pot comes to the City of Beloit. 15% of that pot goes directly to a Chodo working in Beloit, which is what is on the first slide. For 2015, we are estimating the funds as we were for CDBG. So we're anticipating the city funds will be approximately $90,000. And we're estimating the Chodo funds will be, which is a community housing development organization in Beloit, will be approximately $70,000. We are proposing the city funds be used for owner-occupied rehab loans and the Chodo funds be used for acquisition rehab. And there is $8 and cents. We're not sure what those funds will be. We're essentially just setting them aside, where in the past we've set aside the Chodo funds for a specific entity. What CDA recommended this year and staff actually recommended was just setting it aside for acquisition rehab projects. The other types of projects that are available under the Chodo funds are new construction, and we felt that it was more important to do acquisition rehab at this point to kind of fix our existing housing stock. And tonight is the night for your public hearing. It will be on your agenda for action on November.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing on item 4B. If there's anyone wishing to address the council on item 4B, please approach the podium at this time. Second call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4B. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4B. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilor DeForest.
I do have a question about the previous item, if that's okay. I just wanted to prepare Ms. Christensen so that when she comes back to us with this, that she won't be caught off guard. We discussed this a little bit in our budget meeting, but I'm still not seeing the logic having trouble understanding how the storefront improvements and upper floor housing meet the national objectives of CDBG. I know we talked about how they're supposed to create or retain jobs for low to moderate income individuals, and I guess I'm having trouble seeing the connection. So I don't know if you want to talk about that now or just want to talk about it when it comes back to us at the next meeting, but it's still a concern I have.
Well, it's an eligible national objective, low, moderate job creation. All economic development activities, I mean, that is how you meet the national objective. I mean, we were actually looking at that today because we were working on a loan agreement with Andrew and Beth. But economic development activities are allowed to be funded with community development block grant, but then they have to create and or retain low and moderate income jobs. And I mean, that's what they have to do if they're going to get the funding. And they have to create one job for every $35,000 spent. And a full-time equivalent, one full-time equivalent. So it can be fulfilled through part-time employees, but a business receives the assistance, and so the business has to provide the jobs.
So, for example, for the upper floor housing, how is a job created?
Well, if it's this is upper story development. If it is upper floor housing, it's actually a direct benefit. And so the people that rent will have to be low and moderate income for, I believe there's like a 3-year time frame. We've done this like with the rental rehab. It's a similar thing to the rental rehab program. I mean, they would be providing a grant to the business owner or the property owner, and they would have to rent to low and moderate income people because then it would be low mod housing.
Okay.
But I think that the DBA is anticipating that the upper story development there'll be some business development. So if it's business development, it will be job creation. If it's housing development, they'll have to, every tenant for a certain time period will have to be low and moderate income.
So for the facade improvement, the tenant in that storefront or the owner?
The business.
Okay, so the business, they will have to be able to document that a job was created by that facade improvement.
Yes. They have to create a job as part of this program.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We concluded the public hearing on item 4B. That will also be voted on in 2 weeks. Item 4C.
The 2015 operating library and capital improvements proposed budgets.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Tonight we'll just be going through the highlights of the 2015 proposed budget. First of all, the city's proposed budget for all funds, including the capital improvement budget, is $91.3 million, or approximately $200,000 decrease from 2014 budget, or 20.22%. From the time the proposed budget was originally published until now, we did learn that we did not receive a grant for one of the CIP projects. So there is a reduction in the CIP by an additional $460,000, and we will touch on that a little bit later tonight during the workshop. The general fund budget totaled about $31 million. This was an increase of about $115,000 from 2014 budget, or 0.37%. The budgets for all the enterprise funds were virtually unchanged and remained approximately $18.4 million. This slide represents just the summary of all of the different funds within the total budget. You can see the decline of 0.22%, or almost $200,000. The general fund increased $115,000. There was a decrease of about $250,000. Or 3.85% for the debt service fund. The special revenue fund showed the largest increase of 2.77%, or about $400,000. That's primarily made up of TID funds and some grant funds. You can see the enterprise funds, virtually no change. along with the internal service funds and the capital improvement budget. The 280 in the capital improvement budget, you'll see there at 281, that's the line item that will change once the one project comes out of the CIP. Take that down to about $743,000 decline. There wasn't many significant items in the budget this year, but one of the larger items or more significant items was the increase to the proposed municipal vehicle registration fee, or otherwise known as the wheel tax, to increase that from $10 to $20 for each qualified vehicle. This amount, while small, can generate a pretty large sum of dollars for the general fund. At this point, we're anticipating about $250,000 additional dollars to the general fund. The wheel tax was pretty instrumental in getting the budget to balance this year, with virtually no new revenue streams coming into the city and net new construction accounting for about $106,000 of new revenue. We really did rely on the increase of the wheel tax to balance the budget. And you can see there that the update for the amended ordinance is on the agenda tonight, primarily due to the time frame that's needed to report this change to the DOT in order to get that implemented by February 1st of 2015. You can see here the proposed tax levy increased by $118,000 or 0.83%. As I indicated, $106,000 of that was due to net new construction. The other $12,000 was an increase in the debt service fund levy. Of the $106,000, you can see that $46,000 was allocated to the general fund, and $50,000 was allocated to the transit fund. The proposed levy increased the tax rate by 28.6 cents per thousand of assessed value, up to $10.91 per thousand of assessed value. What's driving that increase is mostly due to a decrease in the assessed values throughout the city, more so than an increase in the dollars to the levy. You can see there that the assessed values have declined by $23.6 million from 2014, or 1.5%. This is a graphic illustration of the tax rates over the last 5 years. You can see the last 2 years have increased from 10.3 to 10.6 to 10.9. Again, that is mostly driven from the reduction of assessed values, which is illustrated right here in gold. You can see in 2012, the almost 6 billion in assessed value, the drop there. On the positive side, the equalized values have increased almost 7% from 2014, up from about 1.4 to 1.47 billion in equalized value, or EAV, and the equalized value is what drives the increment in the TID, and it also is critical to our capital program. It drives our debt capacity to allow us to borrow for capital projects. The next steps, we will continue tonight the workshop that is a continuation of last Monday's workshop. We're going to continue that immediately following the meeting tonight. And if all goes well, we will have the adoption on the agenda for the 3rd. And that's it.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing on item 4C. This is your opportunity to comment on any of the aspects of the budget for next year that Mr. Miller was just discussing, or any other aspects you may be interested in, including the wheel tax. If anyone wishes to speak on item 4C, please approach the podium at this time. Second call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4C. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak on item 4C, the 2015 operating library and capital improvements proposed budgets. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on item 4C. Item 5 is citizens' participation. We've reached the point in the meeting for members of the public to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. The council will not act on any requests this evening unless the item you are speaking about is already on our agenda, but we may act on requests at a future meeting, or we may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and avoid making personal attacks. Is there anyone wishing to speak tonight during citizens' participation? If so, please approach the podium. Second call for anyone wishing to speak during citizens' participation. Third and final call for anyone wishing to speak during citizens' participation. Seeing none, citizens' participation is closed. Item 6 is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. Is there any council member wishing to remove an item from the consent agenda? Councilor DeForest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request that item G be removed from the consent agenda, please.
We'll remove item G. Is there any other council member wishing to remove an item? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of items 6A through F. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Lupke, second by Hendricks. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That's approved 7-0. Item 6G.
A resolution approving the final payment for Public Works Contract C14-02 Bayless Avenue Rehabilitation from Park to Nelson.
Mr. Boyson.
This project is a rehabilitation of rough pavement on the Bayless Avenue corridor between Park Avenue and Nelson Avenue. The requirements of the contract have been completed to the satisfaction of the city. The awarded contract amount was $135,657.18. The quantity increase and change orders amounted to $14,268.12, and the net payment due the contractor for the total project is $149,925.30. The city engineer, city attorney, and director of accounting have recommended that this final payment be made to the Rock Road Companies, Inc. in the final payment amount of $3,391.43. Approval of the resolution authorizing final payment is recommended.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Councilor DeForest.
Can I ask Mr. Boyson, when was the project completed?
Well, this is a 2014 project that's just been completed, substantially completed several weeks ago, but then there are last item remaining punch list items, so it's really just been completed in the last few weeks as far as that confirmation of the last miscellaneous item of final repair.
Okay, I asked because I'm concerned about restoration, as you know. How can we be assured that the sod restoration is to our satisfaction at this point?
Now, this project actually was contained within the limits of the curb, so there actually was no sod disturbance or restoration required.
There wasn't at all?
That's right.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Moved by Lupke, second by Kelly. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. Item 7 is ordinances, 7A.
A proposed ordinance to amend Section 13.22 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to the municipal vehicle registration fee.
Mr. Miller.
Hello again. In 1986, the City of Beloit implemented an annual municipal vehicle registration fee or wheel tax of $10 for qualified registered vehicles, which are kept in the City of Beloit. Revenues derived from this fee are required to be used for operations and maintenance of streets located within the city. And as we mentioned earlier, the wheel tax was critical in balancing the general fund due to the reduction of fund balance being applied. The fee has remained at $10 since implementation, so we're asking the council to amend the ordinance to raise the fee from $10 to $20. This will increase revenues approximately $250,000. And if we get that amended tonight, we can implement that fee effective February 1st of 2015.
Thank you. Are there questions on this item? Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. So to be clear, this hasn't been increased since 1986,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
And I know the funds can't be specifically earmarked or segregated, but what is the intention for these dollars that are being raised through the wheel tax
They do need to be specifically
for transportation?
for operations and maintenance of the streets. And so, that can cover any number of items that are scattered throughout our general fund. So it will go to help balance the general fund.
Okay, but I guess I'm just looking for the public's sake for clarification, but it will go specifically to address our roads?
Correct.
Correct.
It has to, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on this item? This is on our agenda for suspending the rules for a second reading. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Kincaid. Is there a second? Second by Haynes. Discussion on suspending the rules. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. I guess if I could ask one question about suspending the rules, because I want to make sure the public is aware of it and has enough time to feel that they can weigh in on this. I know that we have tried to alert the public that this was something to be expected that we were considering. If for some reason we did allow for second reading to give residents more time, I know that it's a sensitive timeline. How far back does that push our ability to notify the state? Are we looking then at a March 1st start
Yes.
date?
Yep.
Okay.
We have to notify the Department of Transportation within 90 days of the first of the month that we implement. So if it would get pushed to the November 3rd date, then that would push it to a March 1 implementation,
Okay.
unfortunately, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is there any other discussion on suspending the rules? Seeing none, all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The rules are suspended by a vote of 7-0. Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Moved by Haynes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kincaid. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. Item 8 is appointments. We have none this evening. Item 9 is councilor activities and upcoming events. Councilor Lubke.
I'd like to encourage everybody to go to the last farmers market of the season this coming Saturday at the second largest farmers market in Wisconsin. And there's still a lot of good produce down there. So, and the weather's supposed to be in the 70s on Saturday, so I expect all the students to be there, and nobody has to sign your papers, and just come on down. Okay? That's all I have.
Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. I would like to welcome all the students that are in the audience, and I always like to take this opportunity to let you know that there are youth vacancies on some of our city commissions, committees, and boards, so I would encourage you to check that out. There's actually a sheet up there with some information about those committees and commissions. I know on the Parks and Recreation Commission, which I serve, we need a youth to be there with us to give us input about our parks and our facilities. So I would encourage you to consider that. Certainly would be a great experience for you, and we want to see youth be involved because you will be sitting in our chairs one day, and we want you to have experience as early as possible. I would also like to take the opportunity to specifically thank Beth Jacobson. I thought I saw her come in. She's hiding. And the fantastic individuals with the Leadership Academy who helped make the Goose Creek Bridge possible. We had that ribbon cutting a few weeks ago, and I was able to walk out there again just a few days ago with the trail complete all the way to Walters Road. And to me, it's just so touching and fitting that it's, a physical, literal connection between Beloit and Janesville trails, and a very symbolic one as well as we try to bridge the gap between the Beloit and Janesville communities. So I want to thank Beth for all your hard work. It really is a beautiful thing, really magnificent. And finally, I had the great honor of attending the domestic violence candlelight vigil that was held this past Friday to raise awareness about domestic violence, and was quite honored to be there present with lots of victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault who came out to support each other that night, and I was so privileged to be there amongst them, and happy to share that one of our very own police officers was there as well, which I really appreciate if you could share that, Captain Duncan, with the officer that attended. So I just want to share my great appreciation for that event. Thank you.
Counselor Kincaid.
My activities were very muted this past week and month, so I'll wait till next week and next meeting. We'll really be packed full from Halloween. Thank you.
Counselor Hendricks.
I don't have much. I just want to, again, like Sheila said, to welcome the young people here to the meeting tonight. And again, if you have any questions, I'm sure any of us will, be more than welcome or eager to answer them for you. And also, I'd like to report that our Brave group launched on October 8th, and we started walking with a small group, but that's okay. So we still need volunteers, and that's Beloit Residents Against Violence Everywhere. Just a walking group that walks daily at 3 o'clock around Hackett and Merrill Elementary Schools. So if you're looking to volunteer, then feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Counselor Kelly.
Okay. So I walked with the Brave group as well, and we can use more people. It was a nice walk. It didn't take that long. It just, it felt safe. I didn't feel like any threats or anything. It was just a nice walk, talk to the kids, I also went to the Grow Your Own Teacher Initiative rollout, and I encourage people to find out more about that. We're trying to get more teachers of color into the school system. So they will go through, graduate from Beloit, they'd get a scholarship to go to school and then come back and teach in Beloit for 3 years. So it sounds like a great program, and I think that's it.
Vice President Haynes.
Well, things have been entirely too crazy for me the last couple of weeks for me to get out and about as much as I'd like to, so I'll just have to pass myself.
And I have nothing too exciting to add this evening either. We'll move on to item 10, City Manager's presentation, 10A.
The Fall Yard Waste Program.
Mr. Boyson.
Thank you. Let's see. So every year we like to accent and bring to the knowledge of everyone in the community a reminder that each year, and this year is between November 3rd and November 21st, the city's fall curbside yard waste program is in effect. This involves free collection of leaves, grass clippings, and garden debris. In order to have your landscape refuse collected, it needs to be in a paper yard waste bag or a back to nature biodegradable bag, clean trash can weighing under with a volume of under 39 gallons and weighing under 60 pounds. To have the yard waste collected, it requires a $1.50, it's free collection, but a $1.50 yard waste sticker is required for bundles of branches. They can be 4 feet long. No piece should be more than 4 inches in diameter. And if someone has something larger than 4 inches in diameter, if they call our operations office, we have a number of people who are interested in firewood. Some arrangement to drop off or pick up could be made if you have larger tree branches of some type greater than 4 inches. And also brush and shrubbery of the same basic dimensions is also picked up for the $1.50 sticker. Stickers are available at City Hall, the Leisure Services Office, the Public Works Operations Division offices, and also Grinnell Hall. They're sold in sheets of 5 for $7.50. We also have a subscription leaf vacuum service, also running from November 3rd through November 21st. The subscription fee for this service is $100. In this case, the residents would blow or rake the leaves to the terrace, generally just behind the curb. It's better to have them behind the curb. If they're in the gutter, there's a little more chance that they could be picked up by a rainstorm or something and moved to the inlets. So we ask that they just be put adjacent to the back of the curb. Another option that many people like is to take their leaves and yard waste to the Leafland Compost Center. It's at 6711 St. Lawrence in Beloit. And fees, there are some fees that apply, and they can be looked up on their webpage at www.leafland.com, or you can call them at 608-364-1909. And any other questions concerning the program can be answered through our Public Works Operations Office at 608-364-2929, and we also have summaries of information concerning the program at our website, which can be reached at www.beloitwi.gov. And so with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to reiterate and underscore that during the fall cleanup season, the leaf season, yard waste, leaves and your garden waste that are included in properly sized containers set out at the curb on your regular collection day are picked up free of charge by the city. The only charge during the fall season is if you have bundles of sticks, twigs, or limbs that you're bundling, you still need a sticker for that. Otherwise, the yard waste collection is free for that 3-week period of time. And again, for residents that have an abundance of leaves to the point where raking them and containerizing them pardon me, is not practical, then we have that subscription service for the backhaul. All you have to do is rake them or blow them out to the curb and leave them there, and the city will pick them up. Okay? I just wanted to clarify that that is a free pickup service during the fall for containerized leaves and garden waste.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council on this? Thank you for your presentation. Item 11 is reports from boards and city officers, 11A.
A resolution approving a monopole wireless communications tower and related accessory equipment in Telfer Community Park located at 2301 Skyline Drive. The Plan Commission recommended approval 5-0.
Ms. Christensen.
The proposed monopole tower and related accessory equipment is proposed to be located in a 30-foot by 50-foot leased compound area on the east side of the park, just north of the main parking lot. The leased area was proposed to be surrounded by a privacy fence, and the proposed lease between the city and Verizon is actually your next item on the agenda. But included in this agenda is the site plan, the tower elevations, and the photo simulations, which are attached to the back of the staff report. The compound area has been designed to accommodate 2 additional wireless providers, antennas, and equipment. Those future co-locations would require separate leases between the city and other providers. The proposed tower location was selected in order to minimize disruption to existing park uses and to provide the greatest long-term flexibility in the event that the park is reprogrammed or redesigned for other uses. It is located near a residential neighborhood, so we did send a public notice to the property owners within 150 feet of the proposed compound. No one did speak at the public hearing at Plan Commission. Parks and Recreation Conservation Advisory Commission did review this and recommended approval of the proposal on September 10th, but they did express a preference for a PVC fence with a color other than white. They were originally proposing a white PVC fence. Plan Commission reviewed this item on October 8th and voted unanimously to recommend approval of this tower, but their conditions were that the compound fence be a wood privacy fence that matches the design of the nearby dumpster enclosure. They thought it was weird to kind of have 2 different fence designs. And the second condition related to protection and preservation of as many mature trees as possible. What was brought forward at the meeting was that they wanted to ensure that there were as few trees as possible destroyed as part of the construction, and that any trees that are there be protected and preserved so that during construction something didn't get destroyed that wasn't planned to be destroyed. The resolution in your packet tonight is to approve the monopole wireless communications tower, subject to the conditions which are listed in the resolution, which is that the applicant shall obtain an architectural review certificate of zoning compliance, and relevant building permits prior to beginning construction. that this approval is inextricably tied to the proposed lease between Verizon and the City of Beloit. If the lease is not executed by both parties, the approved plans alone do not convey any rights to construct the tower and equipment. The compound fence shall be wood privacy fence that matches the design of the nearby dumpster enclosure, and during construction, the applicant shall protect and preserve as many mature trees as possible. And they did unanimously recommend approval.
Thank you. Councilor Kincaid?
I think this is a pretty good deal for the city. But you did remind me of a concern that some of us may have. The tower is very, very close to a good subdivision. All subdivisions are good, but there's adjacent to a subdivision, and within less than 300 feet, some lots are. Even that's not enough, but some lots are affected. I would like for us to either the Parks Department or the city arborist or wherever the expertise lies, is to be more explicit on protecting the trees. We all can't be tree huggers, but we can. We can take specific steps to make sure that they aren't damaged. I think we should be pretty rigorous about that. There are trees, and we're getting a lot of money, but not so much that we should lose a little tiny forest that we have over there. What can we do about that?
Larry, do you want to speak to that since it's parks?
Certainly, we'll protect the trees. The the site, as you can see, is behind a parking lot, and there is a tremendous growth buffer there between the residential neighborhood, and it's clearly in a location that doesn't impact parking, doesn't impact any of the athletic facilities. So we have no intention of taking down any trees. I've gone over and visited it physically. It's an open area. There should be plenty of room to work in there. If they have to trim a limb or something off, that's one thing, but there's no reason to damage any of those trees. So, we'll make sure our forestry crew keeps an eye on that during construction to make sure there's no damage or trees removed.
Thank you. I do want to be clear that the protection of the trees should be under the guidance of staff, but the cost of doing it, of doing whatever has to be done to make sure that they aren't destroyed, is really the part of the construction work of the tenant, and I hope that's clear in our release with them. Thank you.
Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. One question related to Councilor Kincaid's. There's no anticipation that any trees will be damaged, correct?
I don't believe so.
And
and I don't think so.
Okay, and I guess related to what he just shared, I mean, what measures would we need to be taking? What measures would need to be taken to protect the trees that would incur a cost that would be unusual? Or I just wanted to make sure. I am a tree hugger, so I wanted to make sure, because when we looked at it at Parks and Rec, we didn't seem to have any concerns about any trees, right, Brian? So this is news to me. Because that is a beautiful buffer there, as Larry had mentioned. I did want to just share with Councilor Kincaid to address his concern about the neighborhood there. The tree buffer certainly helps with that. And then obviously we're looking for a place to locate the pole where there's already some line of sight poles. And there are some light poles that are quite high in that vicinity. So it kind of makes sense to put another pole in an area where there's already some height poles. And so that is part of the reason why we felt comfortable with this location. I don't know if that helps address your concern at all.
For the trees. Never mind.
Are there any other councilor comments on this item? Or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved by Lubke, second by Kincaid. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Or Councilor DeForest, sorry. Councilor DeForest had something.
so sorry. I just wanted to make sure. So, because I can't look at my packet right now, my computer's not working. There is that final condition in there about the matching fencing, correct? That the fencing will match the current fencing of the dumpster. Okay, great. Thank you. Wonderful. Originally it was a white fence, and that would have looked horrible.
No, that was a non-starter.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That's approved 7-0. Item 11B.
A resolution approving a site lease with Verizon Wireless for ground space at Telfer Park, Pullman Field.
Ms. Krieger.
Make sure I'm on tonight. The lease is before you. It's a companion piece to Ms. Christensen's piece. The highlights of the lease are as follows. It's $1,900 per month with a 3% annual increase. The initial term of the lease is for 5 years with 5 optional 5-year renewal periods. We did use the city standard form lease that's before you. I did take the concern about the issues of the hazardous conditions to Mr. Shao, who's present here from Verizon. He indicated they did do a phase 1 and nothing showed them any concern related to those matters, so they're comfortable moving forward with the lease. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Are there questions on this item? Or is there a motion?
For approval. Second.
Moved by Lupke, second by Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. Item 12 is adjournment. Before we adjourn, I'll note that we will be reconvening at 8 o'clock for the continuation of our budget workshop, but we'll have looks like about a 10-minute break before then. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Hendricks, second by DeForest. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're adjourned at 7:50.
Before you all run away,
We're here.
If they got it in the last couple of years, or
You're getting more than
Picture my lives right there.